Uh, I've got to turn grown-ups off and it's too distracting. There we go.
Were you watching that unironically, Stuart?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question.
Just the way that you were saying that then, it was almost like...
Well, no, it's flat. It's there in front of me. Like, just you know, you don't know where to look. There's Spade. There's Kevin James. There's fucking Rob Schneider.
Work. Yeah.
You don't know where to look.
You haven't really answered my question, though. You're watching it unironically, or...?
No, I was sitting here putting it on because I was waiting and I don't want to be left alone with my thoughts.
You'd rather be left alone with Kevin James and David Spade.
Yes.
I'm with Buckland there, yeah, for sure.
It's Hardgay history.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special episode of Bit Weird, but Fair Enough, I Guess. This episode is actually a recording from a podcast I used to do that shall not be named, with my friends that have appeared on this podcast before, Matt, Ben, and Rich. And in this recording you're about to hear, Matt is telling Rich and I about the cultural phenomenon known as Hardgay Razor Ramon. Having stumbled across this recording again recently, I thought it was the concept was a bit too weird not to include as a special episode here on this very podcast. And as a huge fan of Dan Carlin's hardcore history, I couldn't resist giving this a title in homage of that podcast. Now, Hardgay Razor Ramon is a Japanese television personality, I guess you'd say. His name implies what you'd probably think it does. But I won't spoil it yet, I'll let Matt tell the story. I will say that there's a bit of echo on the recording, apologies. There's a dog barking its fucking head off in the background for some of it as well. But they're probably the least offensive things going on in the recording. So, without further ado, Matt, tell us about Hardgay.
So, when you live in Japan for a couple of years, I guess before we start, as a preamble to this isn't yet another example in a long line of, hey, isn't Japan really weird? Let's make fun of it. I mean, that's pretty much what I base my whole teaching of Japanese on. But this really,
I'd like it to be what you just base all of your teaching on, even if it's a different subject.
Just going, let's bring it back.
Anyway, like those Japanese people do.
Are they weird? Look at this ad. Look at this crazy commercial.
Yes, sir, we're reading Shakespeare.
Oh, dear. Yep, look at this. Look at this man sniffing someone's farts for a challenge. That's great. Now,
what's the one I saw the other day on... Have you seen Gaycation? They were in Japan, and there was like this... There's a subset of...
Sorry, did you say
manga.
Gaycation?
It's got... what's her face? Your old love from that movie.
Yep.
Oh.
Ellen Page.
Okay.
Jesus. That's not... I don't know how long it would have taken me to get to Ellen Page.
It would have taken me a long time. Especially old love. Yep.
Luckily I joined the dots on it for you. Anyway. And she travels around to different countries and explores their homosexual culture. And she got there to...
Okay.
She went to Japan, and there's like a subset of manga which has like young homosexual men in this manga. But apparently it's very popular with heterosexual females.
Huh.
Who kind of look at it from a perspective of almost mockery, I suppose. Like it's like a challenge, like a chili challenge to sit there and read through this manga with each other.
Oh, without getting embarrassed
and getting embarrassed and freaked out by it.
Huh. That doesn't surprise me in any way. I mean, this is very, very closely linked to Hardgay histories as we're talking about.
Fuck you, Buckland. I could hear your cynicism.
So I don't. Like I said, I didn't want
Hardgay?
I didn't want it to be a mockery of how weird Japanese things are.
Yeah.
But this really takes the cake, so to speak. So I'll just explain. Hardgay is a character created in exactly the time I was living in Japan. And it was like a fad. Very often in Japan, these things come along as a fad and they last maybe 12 months and they're really hugely popular and then they disappear again. Because
like Mahatma coat was.
Exactly like Mahatma coat. And I'm sure, just like Mahatma coat, this dude's probably a plumber somewhere, or he's doing something else. No one's really paying attention to. So
he's actually commentating the sumo wrestling.
He might, you know what? He probably is. So this was on a lot of Japanese TV. They have things that are just challenge shows, or let's look at stuff from other parts of the world that are kind of odd and unusual, and we'll get like C-grade celebrities to watch along and make comments and laugh, and they don't really do much more than that, but it's hugely popular. They call them taranto, which is just like talent. These people who that's their job, is to just watch these things, and they'll have a little insert, like a little cutout of their head watching what you're watching and their reaction. So it's usually very dull because they're just going, oh yes, that's funny, that's hilarious, that's weird. But then this guy came along and he decided he'd call himself Hardgay Razor Ramon. And the reason I found out about it was teaching young kids about... Alice has got dog fighting going on again?
Never stops.
Teaching young kids, English, and making them do the alphabet, and then making them do the alphabet backwards. And then one day, just out of the blue, they've been doing this for a while. They get to the alphabet and they're reading it backwards, and they get to I, H, G. And all of these like 8-9-year-old boys just go HG, HG, whoo, HG, whoo, and start thrusting their groins at each other with their hands behind their heads.
Sort of like Duffman style.
Yeah, exactly like Duffman style.
Is there any? This is not any kind of sus translation for HG or anything like that.
So HG means Hardgay.
Hardgay.
So his name was Razor Ramon Hardgay, but he just was shortened to HG. So the first time that happened, 8-9-year-old Japanese boys all knowing what they were doing and laughing and just going HG, whoo, whoo, and just thrusting their groins at each other. So I came out of that lesson. Sorry, so you were about to say, Buckland?
What's the Razor Ramon part, though? Is that just stealing the wrestler's name?
Yeah, and I was going to say, you being a wrestling connoisseur, especially from the 90s, Razor Ramon was like a wrestler's name from the mid-90s, I think, who was himself like a stereotype Latino or something similar. Toothpick in the mouth, lover boy kind of character. And so he just adopted this name. So all the boys do that. I go out and I go, what the hell just happened? I just did this. They all started screaming HG, HG, hands behind the head going, whoo! And then the one of the Japanese people I work with was like, oh, that's Razor Ramon Hardgay. And I was, excuse me? And they're like, it's Hardgay, Hardgay, whoo! And then they start doing it, thrusting their groin. And I was like, I have no idea what is going on. And so
he's taken Razor Ramon's name and Ric Flair's catchphrase.
Yeah, exactly.
which is simply, woo!
So he started off as a wrestler. Now, as a wrestler, he started being called Razor Ramon Hardgay, right? And I only found out tonight that he had a partner in a tag team match whose name was Razor Ramon Real Gay.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So
they started off as wrestlers. For some reason, he crosses over into this Taranto show. Now, this is so when you hear that, okay, thrusting and all that stuff, his name's Razor Ramon Hardgay. But when you see what he wears is some kind of leather bondage outfit.
Yeah.
Very
like
skimpy.
He's straight out of Blue Oyster Bar.
Yeah, straight out of Blue Oyster Bar, straight out of
He's Leatherman from the Village People.
Yeah, Leatherman from the Village People. What his catchphrase is, like I said, is putting his hands behind his head and thrusting his groin and saying, whoo! So, he starts appearing on these talent shows, and everyone goes fucking apeshit for it. Like, let's have a bit more of this. So, for literally about 12 months, he's on nearly every night. So these shows run, they're all different titles. One show might just be like, look at all this weird stuff from around the world. One of them might be crazy inventions. One of them might be like funniest home video style. And he's on every single night, and he's doing the exact same thing, just like whoo, and thrusting his groin, and sometimes like chopping out his bits with his hands and thrusting wildly. So that's how he starts off. And then, as these children like showed us, is hugely popular with children. Like, hugely popular. Like, if he shows up at, like, a school or a shopping centre, he's dressed in his leather outfit, Leatherman, thrusting his groin, surrounded by young children, just loving it. Every single kid is a mad fan of Hardgay. Now, I would do that lesson where you get them to say the alphabet backwards, and for, like, a period of, like, maybe a week or so, every single class, I had a different class, sometimes 3 a day, and every single class would do the exact same thing until I was like, I don't want to see this anymore. Took me a while to get over that.
It took you a while to ask them to stop thrusting their groins.
Thrusting their groins, and yeah, exactly.
All right. So, just for a bit of context.
Yeah, yep.
Would you say, as a society, Japan is generally homophobic? Or
I would say, and again, we are speaking generally, because I was, as you would be, I was pretty obsessed with Hardgay myself, just trying to find out why, and because the classes we taught were like, you would have some student age classes, but the majority of them were talking to Japanese adults, all in English. And so I would always ask them, like, do you know Razor Ramon HG? And they'd go, oh yeah, he's great. And then you would say, why is this funny? And a lot of their responses were, because he's pretending to be gay.
Yeah.
And you go, is he gay?
Is
he gay, though?
Suspected.
Yeah, is he gay? And they're like, no, he's not gay. He's just pretending to be gay. Yeah. And I'm like, but is that how you think gay people act? And they would just be, that's their usual response was, yeah, it's funny. Gay people are funny. And you would be like, okay. So well, that's that level, yeah. So that's that level. But the other level is, you would ask people about the gay culture in Japan, and a lot of them would say there is no gay culture in Japan.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Did you witness any when you were there?
Like Japan is like really good at what's the word? Putting people into sections. So you can have a different like area, not strata, but a different like special interest group, and you are accepted as long as you stick to that area. So, for example, like if you look up what Harajuku girls are, or you look up just look up Harajuku fashion, there are all kinds of people who love to dress up as like manga, not even manga characters, but as like almost like Bo Peep outfits. A lot of them would wear kind of gothic Bo Peep, like frills and things like that, or gothic like almost Edward Scissorhands, that kind of thing. But they all converge at Harajuku Station. So, do you know what I mean? Like, you are allowed to be different, but you have to be all different together.
Right.
Okay. So there was a gay area
in the one sort of spot.
The one sort of spot, yeah. So people go there to look at you, and they know, this is where this belongs. And that's a very Japanese.
So rather
idea.
than like, I think that we kind of have a similar thing, but on an implicit level. Like, for them it's a little bit more explicit, whereas for us we'd say, well, that's not what's acceptable in Gosford
Yeah.
Well, what isn't acceptable in Gosford may well be acceptable in Oxford Street.
Definitely. So you would have,
we've got exactly the same kind of thing, but they're just kind of
and certain types of people would go to this bar, or certain type of people would go to that nightclub, and it wasn't too unusual. That wasn't really like a.
But you're making it sound like they're guided tours.
Well, like, what I mean is, you can literally go, all right, I want to see people who look like this, well, we'll go to this station. Not like these people at every station. They are, here is your spot. So what I mean is, there's a gay area in one part of, a very large area of Tokyo called Shinjuku, there's like an actual gay area. Just like there's a red light district in a similar area. And I only went there once. It was, I think, Justine's last night in Japan. We went and had dinner at the Metro Hotel, like where they filmed most of Lost in Translation, and then one of Justine's, like, one of our gay friends took us to the gay area, and we were like, never been here before, and he was saying, yeah, a lot of people pretend like it doesn't exist. Like, if you said to people, oh, I went to like the gay area, they would just go, what are you talking about? Like, we don't have gay people. Like, that was an actual idea that people would talk about, is that there just aren't gay people in Japan.
Is that just like not admitting that the war was over kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of, and again, it's very simplifying whole like culture. But there is a lot of Japanese culture which is, if you don't like something, it's tactically ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that helps. In some ways, it does. So we'll just pretend it's not there. And again, we probably do, as Ella said, we probably do some things similar like that, implicitly rather than explicitly. We just go, all right, I know what's going on, but whatever. Yeah. So that was always a weird thing, was trying to work out like why it was so funny. Because if it was shown on Australian television, I mean, I'm sure people would like it. People love people dressed as in drag because that's funny. I'm sure that it would get way more complaints, and certainly wouldn't be. That was like one of the most things that was so different in Japanese culture, was just their attitude to this character. So, but again, so if I want to get into like what he actually did, and what once he did all the talent stuff and looking at stuff and all that, he started to get his own show. And in his show, he would go around and solve problems, and he would go around and play pranks on people, still dressed in his leather PVC,
What do you mean solve problems? Like, do you mean maths problems?
No,
or
I mean like
problems?
I mean like
I think the example that I'll save you here, Matthew. I'm sure you can think of something else.
I know you're gonna say the same thing because I'm trying to find something else.
This is my first introduction to Hardgay, and I don't know, it was one of those things, I think, where I might have stumbled across it somewhere on the internet or somehow. It was like one of the, maybe it was possibly a similar kind of show on SBS or something. But he was trying to convince kids to eat, is it natto or
natto?
It's like a natto.
And natto is like fermented soybeans. Looks fucking just it's horrible.
It's basically solidified semen, from what I could gather.
So a student once described it perfectly. They said it looks like an alien and it smells like feet. Like, that's as close as it's fermented soybeans.
So the problem he was trying to solve was getting kids to eat this product.
Yeah, see, what I was going to say was, like, the English equivalent would be like, Jim will fix it, but we can't make that reference anymore. But that's what it's like. People would go, can you help me? I want to do this. I want to be good at this. And like, I want to be good at baseball. So then Hardgay would come along to their house and be like, whoo, dressed in his leather, and be like, come with me, little boy. We're going to the baseball. And all his parents would be like, hooray, and send him off with Hardgay. And Hardgay would take little Ken to the baseball and show him all, like, how to be better, and he'd get like a professional baseballer to, show him how to throw and all that stuff, and everyone would be all heartwarming.
What does that have to do with making fun of gay people?
I don't know. This is like, there was one of those things where like I'm watching it and all I can do is this my problem that all I can do is focus on the fact that he's like pretending to be gay. Everyone else is like he's doing a good job and he's helping everyone.
Well, that's it. But I'm confused by the intent.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've decided they want to. They've decided they want to do nice things for people.
Yep.
But then there's also, degrading a section of society at the same time. So, what's the goal? I guess.
Well, roundabouts.
Yeah. See, but the reason why is that the reason that they got away with it because the gay subculture is fairly ignored. People didn't think he was actually representing anyone. He's so far out there that no one would ever dress like this anyway. Because Japanese TV has a strict code of conduct. Yet this was allowed to get away with it, and it was that kind of thing. It's okay because he's not gay.
Yeah, right.
All right, but again, I can't help you with the intent behind it of why he had to be necessarily doing stuff like that. But he would do.
So, but is it kind of like a bit of a camp thing? I suppose, you are looking at it from. I think that possibly maybe because his name is Hardgay.
Yeah.
There is that emphasis on him being gay, whereas he's much more of a camp figure.
Yeah, it's very over the top.
It's like blackface type thing almost. And I'm not saying it's any less offensive for it, but it's just.
And he's not kind of soft gay, fluffy gay. He's hard gay.
Yeah.
But he used to. But
has
just
a
the
bit
way
of a rapey undertone to it.
Very much.
And interacting with the kids, he would be thrusting his groin around the kids
at their faces, literally at their faces, and
literally.
Everyone would be screaming with laughter.
But then they'd have.
And then they would do it back to him. That's the thing.
Ricky Martin music would play in the background.
Yeah, and he always played "Live in La Vida Loca." That was his background music all the time.
And this was well before Ricky Martin came out.
Yeah, definitely.
A long time before Ricky Martin came out.
Yeah.
And yet that was always, every time he'd kind of say, oh, who is it? It's Hardgay!
And everyone would go crazy and he'd be like, woo!
So the sting would just happen over and over, and the camera would be
at groin. Zooming in and out of a groin, yep. Like I said, it's... Yeah, it's hard. It's really difficult to... Like I said, the word intent is so what's the point, or why are we doing this? So,
all right. So far, he's started out on some talent shows.
Yep.
Everyone's gone, this guy's a cack.
Yep.
Let's get him on every show.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on pretty much star status now. He's on telly all the time, and people are lolling in the streets.
Yep.
And then he gets this show where he goes around helping people, but keeps the same shtick.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is that where we're at?
Yet,
Is that where we're at now, or does he move on to other things?
Well, no. This is when he becomes pretty massive. Okay.
I beg your pardon.
Thank you so much.
When he's thrusting around children.
So. But then again, when this happens, a lot of the issue is, especially for Westerns living in Japan, was trying to get their heads around why is this appropriate or why isn't? Because the other reason,
particularly because, as you say, there was such strict kind of guidelines, right? So it would have been the first time anything like this would have been ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the more famous things that happened, which was unplanned, and maybe unplanned is in inverted commas there, was when he was filming filming just, I'm going to help people on the street, helping people carrying crates of beer somewhere, or helping them get a taxi or anything like that, where he saw a woman being harassed by a sleazy dude, and he interjected and broke it apart and was defending her like this. That's not cool. We don't treat people like this. Still dressed as Hardgay, and at the end of that bit, like turning around and going, "Oh, living la vida loca" and dancing with the woman. So, like, I don't really know. Like I said, there was so much about it that was like, I don't know where this is, like, where it fits in people's minds.
So you're sure it was set up?
Well, I don't know. Like, it's possible that it was set up. It seemed very like specific to be set up,
right?
But it's quite possible.
So, do you know anything about Hardgay's history himself, like outside of this character? Is it a character? Like, how much is it something that he's bringing along to insidiously, to quote from The Late Show, breaking down the barriers,
holding up a mirror to society? No, I don't think there's any of that. There is none of that. There's none of that, like faux socializing this or having. There's no message.
No,
apart from
he started thrusting his groin and people laughed.
Yeah, I'm thrusting my groin. I'm playing Ricky Martin, but hey, I'm doing this for good reason. It's none about look at me, I'm gay, and gay people, we need to normalize it. It's the exact opposite of that.
Check out this freak helping people.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. Well, the guy who's playing him, Masaki, I think Sumitani, he was quite not vehemently coming out and just like saying he wasn't gay, but it was, he was found to be on a date who's he's now married to, and that was like, oh, he's not gay, and everyone was kind of like, oh, thank God for that. Like, oh, that makes it funnier that he's not gay. And, and then again, like, people are like, oh, it's a parody. Well, it's not a parody, because not many people are running around thrusting their groins at children's heads while he forces them to eat carrots. Which sounds like a joke, right? But no, that's one of the shows too. Wow. Carrots, and putting them at groin level, like, whoa, look at this. Like, there's like, I'll have to find the best links to it. But again, all for the kids loving it. Okay, but yeah, no, this guy just came up with a character kind of through wrestling, and then eventually made it bigger, I guess, made it more elaborate, made it more over the top when he started to be on TV. So there's no through line of, I'm hoping this will make a positive change for society. But then again, like within 12 months, he was like, oh, I'm over this, and stopped doing it.
Oh, really?
So it only lasted 12 months.
So pretty much, like he came and went, so to speak. But really, that was where it hit its point, and then sort of just faded away. And that was him. He was actually the main person to go, like, almost like at the top of the Hardgay phenomena, to say, I mean, maybe he had a bit of clarity, or maybe people had told him, like, yeah, this isn't really helping anyone as much as you think, and so he stopped doing it. So he turned up every now and then. He apparently had his own song, which I have to find. So yeah, he actually, stopped doing it.
What do you do with yourself though now? What do you do with yourself after that?
That's a good question. I think he did a bit more wrestling after that. Maybe not as Hardgay Razor Ramon.
Just as himself.
Oh, so he actually did do wrestling.
Yeah, he started off as wrestling. Hardgay and Real Gay were wrestlers to start off with.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant that. I got very confused there.
So, I mean, it all happened very quickly. That all happened. So he was, and so then he was wrestling and on TV. So then his wrestling career was massive because he was on TV.
That's crazy.
And then he went back, and so, but then then he stopped with the wrestling altogether. I think maybe from injury, but I think he wanted to have a go at being a comedian. Like, it's all over the shop, really.
Well, I imagine him up on stage there, and after his third joke in a row, just bombing, the hands go up behind the head, and the groin starts thrusting forward.
Goes with what he knows.
Yeah.
Goes with what he knows. So I'm just finding out. I'm hopefully I can find it. His single was called "Young Man," which was a Japanese rendition of the YMCA.
Of course.
So I mean, this is another thing I found about Japan as well, is that in quite a lot of
They're obsessed with the
things,
village people.
yeah. Well, not so much that, but quite a lot of things, attitudes towards sexuality, and even in a more general sense towards women, was very much a throwback to the 70s.
Yeah.
Like
I was going to say, there seems to be a lot of overtones to, like, you can't stop the music type thing going on here, where you just don't. The fact that they were all gay men was never really kind of explicitly talked about. Like, it was almost just completely swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
Whereas this is almost the other direction, like taking it to the other extreme, where it's so in your face that, I don't know. It's just crazy. It is a bit weird.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's beyond the usual, like, wow, look at this weird thing that they do in Japan. This is like, I don't, like I said, I don't get the intent. I don't get the direction of it. I don't get the what the end point was, what it could have been. I don't get what it does to actually gay people in the country, or what it says about the way they react to gay people. Like, that was always the thing, was it's funny because he's not gay.
Well, I think if you're looking for, I don't know, good things to say about it, he knew when to get out.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's true.
All the, I mean, you know, he's not 10 years into playing Hardgay and and just going on and on. All the good comedies finish. Sure. Office,
Yeah.
Faulty Towers, you know.
Yeah,
they
get
all
in.
finish.
Just do it for a bit.
They know they know when to get out.
Yeah.
Take note, Ricky Gervais.
And Hardgay knows when to get in, and he knows when to get out.
He knows when to pull the cord and
Certainly does.
get out of there. No, that's all right. I'm just looking at an article there, which is talking about how Japan is, a lot of it's focused on one-hit wonders. They love one-hit wonders with music. They love like flavor of the month. I mean, sure, everyone does, but they seem to have a quicker turnaround, like a really like a massive upsell of something, and then it just disappears. So, but they were saying. So I'll read you this because I like the way it's written. Hardgay might have been hard, but he wasn't gay. He did hang out in Osaka's gay district where he purchased his costumes, but rumours quickly circulated that the comedian was just putting on his gay act, and this was far more appreciated than the fact if he was actually gay. So then this was verified by a tabloid, showed him out on a date with a bikini model and a Suzuki. Again, it's more than likely that this tabloid moment was set up to prove to his fans that he wasn't actually gay, making him more acceptable to the Japanese public.
I was going to say, it all sounds very contrived, like everything around it.
Yeah.
Like in his convenient. Like I don't think it's really relevant whether he is gay or not. I think the fact they've gone to such lengths to
Are we kind of
make sure that he was straight is more telling than his own actual sexuality. Like,
are we kind of saying that part of his popularity is just that people saw him as so talented because gay people were so weird and alien?
Yeah,
that you must just be so talented to be able to portray them.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I think there was a bit of that in there, that they were like, well, you know, this is the only like gay thing that we're prepared to see on television is something so over the top. Because if he was just a realistic gay person, that could be very confusing. I think that's
be a fella
part of
sitting
it.
there.
Yeah, if you're a fella sitting there being, well, they act normal. That doesn't make, you know, that it's that. Like I said, it is a very big throwback to the '70s, where you're like, all right, where you can pick them out. Let's pick out, maybe let's go and bash up a few on a Saturday night. Like that's where that kind of attitude heads. I think even in Japan was just like, oh, they're very much on the fringes of society. You know, even when you would say, you know, it's what percentage of people are gay on average? It's what, 12, 13% or something like that. It might be higher. But in Japan, no. A lot of people would just go, no, that's not the same here. There wouldn't be that many gay people. There's not many gay people.
Well, certainly not now, since they moved the gay district to Fukushima. But yeah,
they're terrible people. Yep. So that's Hardgay histories. Like I said, things tend to burn out very quickly in Japan, and I think the fact that they have them on these shows 3, 4, 5 times a week, I think they just milk it for all it's worth, and then see you later.
Can you just stop saying things like that, please?
Well, milking Hardgay is like not what you want to hear.
Yeah,
but there seems to be
sounded like a bit of a phenomenon.
Yeah, he was. That's exactly right. He was a phenomenon, and it happens, probably more in Japan than it does here. But there's a lot of people, and a lot of shows are like this. So they're just cranking them out. As soon as something catches on, then they just, conflate it as much as possible. So that's why.
So these Torrento shows is that really how you say it?
Yeah, it's like talent. It's just Tarento.
Tarento.
Yeah.
It's pretty racist in itself.
Yeah.
But
don't do the accent.
Is it just like sitting around watching? Say, would you sit around and watch like Hey Hey It's Saturday and have them narrating it, basically talking about how crazy these white people are?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, a lot of it. Was just stuff like that, or people falling over, or practical jokes, and then they're just like commenting on it. And then sometimes they'd have like a serious story or an interesting story, and it'd literally be them just going over the top, doing noddies and over the top, and saying, "Oh, omoshiroi, interesting," like just saying interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, it's very interesting. And then people eating. There was a lot of food being eaten, and a lot of time they go, well, that looks delicious, like just over and over again. Like it was very...
So maybe not looking for comedic opportunities enough.
No. To an outsider, Japanese television, a lot of it, and which is unusual because a lot of times people, we like to say, look how weird this stuff is. But a lot of the time it's on every night. A lot of it's superbly bland. Like really... This is just a bunch of people watching TV that have not much to say. But every now and then you have something that's called like that someone invents a game that people can watch, like Silent Library. Have you seen Silent Library? I'll have to put that up because that's amazing. That's genuinely entertaining, where you do like a game to see who's... So it's in a library and everyone has to be quiet, and there's 6 people sitting around, and then they pick out a card, and if you've got the X, then you have to do a challenge. And the challenges start off pretty minor, and then they get worse. So the first one might be, I think, to eat like a wasabi-filled sushi roll without making any noise, and everyone's freaking out. But then it gets progressively worse until the last one, and I'm not making this up, is an old man comes out, takes his teeth out, and starts gumming a dude on the neck.
Sorry?
Yeah, you heard me. An old dude comes out and takes his teeth out and gums the dude's neck. And he's got to be quiet. He's got to be completely quiet.
Hardgay went and started writing for Silent Library. That was his career.
So I'll put that up there. That is disturbing. But before that, it's very entertaining. There's a big fart box that someone has to smell. It's all great, happy times. But they all have to not giggle. That's the thing.
Did they just call it Sniff My Fart Box? That would have been like the best name.
Silent Fart Box would be good. So yeah, I'll put that up. But that's what I mean. So it's if you have, these shows go for 2 or 3 hours a night. So if you have like 12, 13 hours of content every night, and something hits, it's kind of like on YouTube. It's like goes viral. They just run it again. They run it again the next night, or they do something similar and they run the idea into the ground. Because you
wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see that happening here.
No, not at all. You wouldn't see it happening on late night talk shows anywhere either. Anytime you have lots of content. So that's where it sprung from. So he was on it a few times. Everyone went, "That's great," and it just exploded. And then he went, "Nah." No.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Matt.
No worries. Thank you for joining us on the Hardgay Histories. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that bonus episode. A bit weird, but fair enough, I guess. Enjoyed? I don't know if that's the right phrase. Acknowledged. How about that? Hope you acknowledged this episode in some way. We'll come back perhaps with another special at some point and another season of the regular episodes somewhere down the line. But thanks for listening. Tell a friend. Give a rate and review. All that gear. Follow the socials. Ta-ta.